The Young and the Restless, spoilers, Monday, the 9th of March, 2026. The tension surrounding the disappearance of Jack Abbott continues to tighten its grip on Genoa City, and the sense that the situation is approaching a turning point is becoming impossible to ignore. Inside the Abbott house, the atmosphere is thick with worry and impatience when Billy Abbott suddenly arrives with something new, something that could change everything. Billy tells Diane Jenkins, Abbott, and Kyle Abbott that he believes he finally has a lead on where Jack might be. For days, they have been chasing speculation, arguing about Victor's motives, and trying to decipher threats that felt deliberately vague. Now Billy's words carry a different tone. It is not certainty, but it is closer than anything they have had so far. Diane's reaction is immediate. Fear and hope collide in her expression because every possible clue now feels like the thin thread connecting her to the man she loves. Kyle, more cautious but equally desperate, presses Billy for details. What exactly did he find? Is it real evidence or just another possibility that could lead them nowhere? Billy admits that the information is still incomplete, but he believes it points towards something unusual, something that suggests Jack may not be in Genoa City at all. That realization alone changes the entire direction of the search. At the same time, another development is unfolding across town, one that may be just as dangerous. At Crimson Lights, Sienna Bacall sits across from Sharon Newman and Nick Newman. The meeting begins with something unexpected: gratitude. Sienna tells them openly that she will never forget what they did for her. In her words, Nick and Sharon pulled her out of a situation that could have destroyed her life, perhaps even something far worse. There is a sincerity in her voice that makes both of them pause. Sienna has never been someone who speaks lightly about emotional debts, and the fact that she is acknowledging one now signals that something significant has changed inside her. She explains that ever since that moment, she has been thinking about how she could repay them. Gratitude alone is not enough for her. She believes she owes them something real. That is when Sienna reveals the part of the story that immediately alarms both Nick and Sharon. She tells them that she has already taken steps to deal with the threat posed by Matt Clark. The words land heavily between them. Matt Clark has become a name that carries unease throughout Genoa City, someone whose influence extends into dangerous territory. Nick immediately leans forward, concern written across his face. He asks Sienna what she means by steps. Sharon's reaction is quieter, but equally tense. Both of them understand that confronting someone like Matt is not something that should be done alone. Yet Sienna speaks with the calm confidence of someone who has already made her decision. In the weekly preview, she tells them that she acted on her own to help remove the threat Matt represents to all of them. The problem is that Sienna does not immediately reveal exactly what she did. That uncertainty is what makes the moment so unsettling. Did she gather evidence against Matt? Did she approach someone who has the power to expose him? Or did she attempt something far riskier, something that could provoke Matt into retaliation? Nick knows that situations involving Matt rarely end cleanly. Removing a threat like that requires careful planning and protection, not a lone effort driven by gratitude. Sharon watches Sienna closely, trying to read the emotions beneath her calm tone. There is determination there, but also something else, perhaps the quiet satisfaction of someone who believes she has finally taken control of her own story. Still, the biggest question remains unanswered. Even if Sienna believes she has neutralized Matt Clark, has she actually succeeded? People like Matt rarely disappear simply because someone stands up to them. More often, they respond by striking back harder. If Sienna has made a move against him without fully understanding the consequences, she may have just escalated a conflict that could now spiral far beyond her control. Nick and Sharon both realize that whatever Sienna has set in motion may already be unfolding behind the scenes. Back at the Abbott home, Billy's revelation about Jack's possible location and Sienna's mysterious move against Matt may seem like separate storylines, but in a place like Genoa City, nothing ever remains separate for long. Every new piece of information, every decision made in desperation or loyalty slowly pushes events toward a moment where secrets can no longer remain hidden. Jack is still missing somewhere beyond the city's reach. Diane is clinging to the possibility that Billy's lead might finally bring him home. And now Sienna has stepped into a dangerous game of her own, one that could either eliminate a powerful enemy or unleash an entirely new wave of consequences. The only certainty is that the coming days in Genoa City are about to become even more explosive. Diane's fear doesn't arrive in loud, dramatic bursts anymore. It sits in her chest like a weight that never shifts, the kind that makes every hallway in the Abbott house feel too long, every silence feel accusatory, every phone vibration feel like it might be the one call that either saves her life or breaks it. She keeps telling herself she has survived worse, that she has clawed her way back into this family and earned the right to stand here as Jack's wife. But none of that matters when the man she loves has vanished into Victor. Newman's shadow. Diane doesn't just worry about where Jack is. She worries about what's being done to him, about how quickly Victor's patience can turn cruel, about how easily a corporate demand can become something uglier when Victor decides he needs to remind the world who he is. Even the people who usually normalize Victor's behavior feel unsettled by this, and that only makes Diane's panic sharper, because when the town's cynics start whispering that Victor has gone too far, it means the danger is real. That's why Billy's sudden insistence that he may have a lead hits Diane and Kyle like oxygen after drowning. It is not comfort, not certainty, but it is movement. It is something. Billy, of course, cannot resist framing it in the language of disappointment before anyone gets their hopes up. He admits it might be nothing, that it might send them chasing ghosts, while Victor keeps smiling behind his threats, that it could be a wild goose chase designed to make them waste time. Diane hears him, and the old frustration in her rises because despair is a luxury she cannot afford. Kyle's response comes with the kind of stubborn clarity that only a son can have when he refuses to imagine his father gone. It could be the clue they need. He insists the missing link that finally pulls the chaos into focus. And Diane, almost without thinking, anchors herself to that idea with everything she has. If this is the only lead, then it is not optional. They have to follow it. She doesn't care if it's thin, inconvenient, humiliating, dangerous. She cares that it exists. Diane has lived long enough with regret to understand something Billy sometimes forgets when his pride takes over. You can rebuild a company, you can win back influence, you can recover from a public defeat. But you cannot rewind the moment you chose not to act when there was still time. And while the Abbott family tries to turn Billy's fragile maybe into an actual direction, Jack is fighting a very different kind of battle, one that requires him to become someone he doesn't want to be for just long enough to survive. The ocean around him is more than scenery. It is a threat, a reminder that even if he breaks past a door or outsmarts a lock, there's nowhere to run unless he can turn the right person into an ally. Patty is the wild card standing between him and freedom, not because she's physically stronger, but because she is emotionally unpredictable in a way that makes every second with her feel like walking across cracked ice. Jack understands that logic will not tame Patty. Fear will not tame Patty. The only tool that has ever truly controlled her is attention, the intoxicating feeling of being wanted, being seen, being chosen, especially by someone like him. So Jack leans into charm he would rather not use, not because he enjoys it, but because he knows what desperation demands. He offers her a bargain that sounds playful, almost flirtatious. She shows him the yacht. She gets a kiss. It's the kind of line that could sound ridiculous in any other context, but here it becomes a weapon and a lifeline at the same time. Patty's reaction is exactly what Jack is counting on. She pauses, evaluates, smiles like she's won something. A tour of the yacht is not just a favor, she reminds him. It's trust. It's control handed over in small pieces. She wants to know what she gets for granting him that, and when she says she wants a kiss, Jack doesn't flinch, not outwardly. Inside, he measures the risk with cold precision. Because the truth is, Jack isn't bargaining for affection. He's bargaining for information. He needs to see the layout, the exits, the equipment, the details that might tell him where they are, the sounds of engines, the distance to any land, the direction of the sun, the faint hint of a shoreline if there is one, the kind of yacht. This is the kind of people who would own it, the kind of resources it takes to keep it hidden. Every step Patty allows him is a step closer to turning captivity into a message he can somehow send back to Genoa City. He doesn't need a dramatic escape right now. He needs a single crack in the situation, one careless moment, one accessible device, one opportunity to leave a breadcrumb big enough for Billy and Kyle to follow. But the danger isn't only whether Jack can slip away while Patty is distracted. The danger is Patty herself. The same impulse that makes her glow under his attention can turn vicious if she feels played. If she realizes Jack's warmth is strategy, her gratitude becomes humiliation, and humiliation becomes rage. Jack knows that the moment Patty suspects betrayal, the rules change. She will stop playing, stop flirting, stop pretending this is a game. She will punish him for making her feel foolish. So his performance has to be convincing in the most uncomfortable way, soft enough to keep her close, controlled enough to keep her calm, and careful enough not to trigger the part of Patty that has always lived one heartbeat away from chaos. Back in Genoa City, Diane and Kyle are clinging to Billy's lead because it's all they have. They're trying to turn fragments into a map, dread into action, fear into decisions. Diane doesn't know that Jack is out there surrounded by water, maneuvering through a psychological minefield with Patty as his unpredictable guide. She doesn't know he's trying to transform a kiss into coordinates, a tour into a rescue. All she knows is that her husband is missing, Victor is smiling, and time is running out. Billy's lead might be a dead end, or it might be the first true thread connecting them to Jack's reality. And somewhere on that yacht, as Jack walks beside Patty and measures every inch of the world he's trapped in, the question isn't just whether he can escape. It's whether he can escape without shattering the one unstable person who might be his only bridge back to home.